Hello and welcome to the Joinery Business Podcast. Every month in the Joinery Business Hub on Facebook, we run a poll called the What's Your Problem poll, where users get to vote on what's been on their mind lately so that we can talk about it here on the podcast. This month, the most common concern was understanding numbers and users wanting to be able to interpret their numbers in a way that's useful. This is a common thing we see here. Perhaps you'll see your numbers going up and think that's good, but there's actually a bit more complexity to it that's actually a bit easier to understand than you might think. Here, Bruce is going to give some advice on how to understand your numbers and elaborate on why they're so important. If you have any questions about today's episode, be sure to jump on over to the Joinery Business Hub on Facebook, or if you want to vote on next month What's Your Problem poll. Now, without further ado, let's jump into today's episode.
Hey, welcome to the Joinery Business Podcast. If you've been following us for any length of time, or if you're in our Facebook group called the Joinery Business Hub, you'll know that we do a little poll every month or every couple of months. And in the poll, we ask, what's your problem? What are some of the things that you need help with? And we're really happy to see the feedback that everybody gives us. And so what I do every once in a while in a podcast like this is we take one of the things that you said you needed help with, usually the top answer in the poll, and we put it into a podcast. So today I'm going to talk about the thing that you said you needed most help with, or the biggest problem that you have. Our question last time was obviously what are you struggling most with? And the biggest response was around your numbers. So the response was, I don't know where my numbers are in business, and I have no clue how we're tracking in business. You wouldn't think it would be the top response, but it actually is. And this does kind of resonate with what I've heard quite a few people I talk to. If I just ask the simple question, hey, you're running a joinery business, you've been running it for 3 or 4, maybe 5 or 10 years. How are you tracking financially? Do you know where you're at right now on a month-by-month basis? And a lot of times I get the simple answer, nah, I leave my accountant, they can tell me that. Or I just look in my bank balance, and often it's just one bank account with money going into it, and you go, hey, I've got a lot of money in my bank account today, we must be doing okay. Or I haven't got much money in there, maybe we're not doing okay. But it's no way to tell how your business is tracking. So it is something that if you are a business owner, and this podcast is for business owners, if you've made a decision to run a business, you have to make a decision to know how to make decisions based on what the numbers are telling you. And if you're not getting the numbers to guide you and tell you what to do in business, it's kind of like playing darts blindfolded. You never know where the dart's going to land. You never know what's going to happen. So I thought I'd tell a story. I've told this story over the years quite a bit, and I haven't told it for a few years, I feel. So imagine you're in a car and you're with your family, wife, 3 kids in the back seat. Here in Australia, there's a car called a Kingswood, and they're very well known, 4-door sedans. So let's just say that you're driving down the road across the Nullarbor Plain, a very hot area of this country. It's a 40-degree day. And you're in this old Kingswood, and this car is known to overheat from time to time. And it's a 40-degree day, and you're towing a caravan, and you're going across the Nullarbor Plain. It's bad enough that this car is known to overheat, and it's a 40-degree day, and you've got 3 screaming kids in the back. That's bad enough on its own. But let's just add a little bit of fuel to the fire here and say, it just so happens on this day that this car's temperature gauge isn't working. So you're driving along and it's 40 degrees and you know that this car has a tendency to overheat. And you've got all these distractions, these kids in the back screaming, and you have no idea of knowing when something's going to happen because there's nothing telling you by way of a dashboard or an indication that your car is about to overheat. How are you actually feeling? If you just picture yourself in that situation, how are you feeling? You're probably feeling a little bit stressed, a little bit overwhelmed, just a little bit nervous and uncertain. And that tends to be what a lot of business owners say that they're feeling when they run their business on a day-by-day basis. So without the numbers, without any indication in your business as to, are things going well? How are they going? If there's an indication somewhere that the numbers are telling you that the trend in your business is going bad, so maybe you need to do something with your pricing system. If you're not looking at your numbers in a way that's going to give you information right now to do something, chances are pretty good that your car is going to overheat at some stage, or your business is going to overheat. There's going to be some catastrophic event. it is also possible that things are going really, really well. That's entirely possible. And if you don't know that, how would you celebrate it? So no matter what's happening, you need to know your numbers and you need to know what's happening in your business. And let me be really, really clear about this too. When you are looking at your numbers, let's just say that you're looking at the results of the previous month in a profit and loss statement. It's already too late. It's already a month old. Those results that you're looking at have already happened. You actually can't do anything about them anyway. But you can do something about what's going to happen into the next month. Another story I'll tell around this, hopefully one of these stories hits the mark a little bit. Numbers are interesting things, and they quite often drive us to make some pretty extreme decisions. We've just been through a pandemic, and the numbers that kept appearing on our screen that showed more and more and more of these cases are popping up increased the severity of what we needed to do. And it was all based numbers driven. So eventually we get to the most catastrophic place where there's, we're in a pandemic mode. That was all driven by the numbers. And, people that are in higher up positions, whether you agree with it or not, had to make some decisions on what they did. I happen to live here in Melbourne, and as I understand it, we're one of the most locked down cities in the entire world. But these are all numbers-driven decisions. Much like if you have a blood test done and you go to the doctor, they draw blood. I'm sure most of you have had this done. The technician does some analysis of this blood, and then a few days later or sometime later, you sit down with your doctor and you're looking at numbers on a page. You're not looking at your blood. You're looking at how healthy is your body based on what the numbers in your blood test is telling you. And if the severity of that blood test or the severity of the numbers is severe enough, I'm willing to bet you take action pretty quickly. So this is what numbers can do for you. They can help you take action really quickly. And in the absence of numbers, nothing happens except your feeling of, I know I should probably be doing something. That's an emotion that really hurts a lot of people. And we talk a lot on this podcast about mental health and how do we help people overcome being overwhelmed or stressed, feeling good, being willing to take time off, being willing to grow the business, just making good decisions based on your confidence of how this business is going. Without the basic fundamental decision-making tools that you need around numbers, and the numbers are the health of your business, there really would be no way for you to have confidence in where this business is going to be in a year, 2 years, 5 years. There'd be no way for you to make decisions on whether you do hire someone or whether you're tracking really well or whether we need to make, improvements in our factory with efficiencies, or maybe our pricing system isn't working well. Maybe we don't have enough leads coming in to feed the business. Without numbers telling us this, there's no way for us to make these sort of decisions to know what do we need to do right now. Much like a blood test. The blood test is going to say, hey, your cholesterol is fine, but maybe you're deficient in vitamin D because you're not getting enough sun. What are we going to do? We're probably going to take a vitamin D supplement and maybe get out in the sun more. Immediately. It's an easy thing to do. What I'm saying to you in this podcast is, if you are a business owner, a joinery business owner in particular, and you're probably the sort of person that's a tradesman and is saying to yourself, I don't really know how the numbers work. I don't know anything about them. And, maybe they scare you a little bit. I hear this statement quite a bit. That often comes from an accountant or a bookkeeper talking accountant and bookkeeping talk, their language that generally doesn't mean a whole lot to you. And it tends to make you, step away from wanting to know anything about your numbers, leaving it up to them. Well, that's just not going to help you in business. So the one thing that I will say for sure is there are some basic numbers that you need to pay attention to. The most fundamental number that you need to pay attention to is your net profit. Net profit obviously is all the money that's come into the business after you've spent all the money to run the business, what's left over in the end. It's like what's in the net at the end of the day. Net profit, what's in the net when everything else has been taken away. And obviously you want that to be as high as possible. You're going to pay tax, however, on net profit. And that, we don't like paying tax, but it's a good thing, right? If you're paying tax, you're making profit. The one thing I will caution you on with net profit though, is if you are not on wages, if you're taking out of the business what we call drawings, you're just paying yourself $1,000 here and $1,000 there. That's what we call drawings. That number, that drawings number will not appear anywhere on a profit and loss statement. When you're paying yourself in drawings, what you're actually saying is, I'm going to take some of the profit that I think I'm going to make out of the business now. And when you look at net profit and you're not on wages, you have to take out of the net profit the total amount that you paid yourself in drawings to know what the actual business net profit is, because you've now taken out of that figure what you've paid yourself. So sometimes, we see a business owner that says, oh, I've made $200,000 in net profit. And then we take the drawings away, which might be $150,000 over the course of the year. And really, the business made $50,000. So that's the first number that you really want to look at. That's the end result. There are a few other numbers that are really important too. I'll simplify this in really, really easy terms. When you look at your profit and loss statement, the best way to look at it is not in looking at the numbers, like the dollars, those numbers. The best way to look at it is just to have percentages running down the side of your numbers. Now, those percentages are obviously a percentage of the revenue. And you're going to find that there are two of the largest line items in all of your profit and loss statement. Those two line items are going to be your wages and the materials that you pay for. And we know that if your wages is too high, then you're not efficient. So we want to look at what your number of wages is as a percentage against revenue. Nice and simple, right? And the material percentage of revenue, so most joinery businesses here in Australia will track around 40% of all their revenue pays for their material. So it'll have a 40% beside your material usage. If you want to make an adjustment or a change to your business or an improvement, it makes sense to look for the two largest line items being wages and materials, and try and reduce them, because that's going to have the biggest impact on your business. But keep in mind that your profit and loss statement is a really, really simple document. It starts out with your revenue, which is 100%. And every line item after that is taken away from the 100%. And down the very bottom is the percentage of what you should be left over. And that should be as high as possible. These are the things that we work with people on, is to understand your financial statements, understand your numbers, take away some of the fear and apprehension around what numbers mean. It's actually really simple. Numbers are actually really easy. 2 and 2 is always 4. We can help you. If you'd like some help analyzing your numbers, just book a chat with me, book a call, or reach out in the hub and just ask for some help understanding numbers, and we can do that there as well. Hopefully this has been a little bit helpful, especially to those of you in the hub that have said, I'm a little bit afraid of my numbers and I don't really know what they mean. This podcast is designed to help you with those, and it's designed to raise the importance of getting to know your numbers. So book a call with me and we can have a chat, and hopefully you have an amazing day. Thanks for listening. Peace out.